Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. In this presentation, we will tell you about our final project in academic listening. And before that, let me introduce my team. Me, Arda Mageso Ismariyanto with NPM 66 and my friend Muhammad Fatih with NPM 40. And this is our photo. Tuval IBT. What is Tuval IBT? Content Tuval IBT is a 4-hour computerized test with 4 sections: reading, speaking, listening, and writing. This test is to test your skills. In each section, you will use one main skill in each section. Like for example, you have 20 minutes on speaking and 50 minutes on writing. But different with 2 sections left: reading and listening. Reading ranges from 60 to 80 minutes long, while listening ranges from 60 to 90 minutes long. There will be no reminder time for the time, so use your time wisely to do the test. Don't worry, you will have one 10 minutes break in the middle of the test. Between speaking and listening section, take it for refresh your mind during the test. This is the structure of TOEFL IBT. As you can see, the total time is 4 hours, and it divided into 4: reading, listening, speaking, and writing, as I said before. And in this presentation, we will discuss about six main points for the listening section. The first one is main ideas. The second one is details. The third one is implication. The fourth is relationship between ideas. And the fifth, information of organization. And the last is speaker objective. Main ideas. Every listening sample will begin in the same way, with a main idea question. These questions ask you to identify the main point of the lecture or conversation. When you see this kind of question, remember that you should only be concerned with the main idea of the passage. Supporting ideas, example, and counter-example will not be correct answer. Just because an answer choice is true doesn't mean that it is the correct answer. It must be the most important of all the correct answer choices. They usually take one of the following forms. The first one is, why does the professor ask to see the student? Second one is, what problem does the student have? The third one is, what is the main idea of the passage? The last one is, what subject is the professor mainly discussing? Here is an example for this type of main ideas question. And then next to the tips for answering main ideas question. The first one is focus on the supporting ideas. The second one is, if the question asks for the main purpose of conversation, the answer will be in the beginning of conversation. The last one is go to the easiest question first. And then we move to details. Details. Detailed questions are roughly equivalent to the factual question from the TOEFL reading section. They deal with specific facts from the listening section, but they are not usually as specific as detailed questions in reading section. Detailed questions in the listening section rarely deal with the very specific information like numbers or names. Instead, they focus on those facts, but you would recognize as important as you listened to the recording. Detailed questions are usually in harmony with the main idea of the recording. Before you mark a final answer, revisit the main idea of the recording and make sure that your answer choice makes sense considering the main idea. Here's an example of detailed question. Okay, next to the tips for answering the detailed question. The first one is be careful not to fall into the trap that phony friends may make for you when you choose your answer. False friends are answer choices that look to be correct but are not. They use keywords from the passage in a way that is not. They may directly contradict the passage facts, or they may just be incomprehensible. The second one is, before you mark a final answer, go back over the recording's core topic and make sure your response choice makes sense in light of it. The last one is pay attention to the speaker because you won't be able to listen to the audio again.
Implication. In this section, the main purpose of this question is to make an inference of the passage. This is a symbol from the implication. This type of listening question looks a lot like one of the following. Example, what can be inferred from the processor discussion? And the second, what will the student probably do next? And the third, what is implied when the speaker says this? The question will sometimes play a sentence from the audio for you. Other times, you will have to rely on your notes and memory to respond. Unfortunately, because you can't take note on material that is not present, your note might not always be of much use. Here, an example of a question like this. Tips for answering implication question. First, never pick an answer that contradicts a main idea from the passage. Second, as you are listening, pay attention to the speaker's tone. Third, the correct answer will probably use some keyword not found in the recording. Fourth, the information is in the recording. Never draw from your own thought or experience if they are not also spoken about in the recording. Fifth, the implication is very similar to what's directly said. You do not need to make a large logical jump. In the next slide, we will discuss about relationship between idea. This question is the second kind of organization question that will ask you about the relationship between two or more parts of the lecture. Relationship between idea. The relationship between distinct portions of the lecture is the second type of the organization question. How does the professor explain his thesis regarding the reason of the war? For example, may be a question on the examination. To answer this question, you have to go back over your note and uncover the necessary information. Rather than the overall structure, the squares focus on the smaller relationship. This is an illustration of a query like this. In the next slide, this is the example from the relationship between ideas. Next slide we will discuss about information of the organization. This question assesses your comprehension of the meaning we derive from the context. They frequently inquire about a specific section of the passage. Sometimes even a single word. The question will apply a part of the audio that contains the question's topic, and subsequently only the topic will be applied. No transcription will be provided for any of this question. All information will be obtained from the listening. This inquiry does not concern the meaning of the words said by the speaker, but rather the information sent by the way they are said. Here, an example of question like this. This is from the example, and then the next slide is tips for information of organization. Listen for signals that will help you understand the organization of a talk, connection between idea and the importance of idea. In the next slide, we will discuss about speaker objection. Speaker objection. This kind of question often deal with information that's given not just by what the speaker says, but also by how they say it. Information of organization. This question will ask you about inferring the speaker opinion, what information the speaker's intonation and word choice give you about the speaker's feelings and relationship toward the subject she and he discussing. This question might also ask you about feelings that are directly stated or strongly implied, as in the following example. In this next slide, the example from it. And the next slide, tips for speaker objective question. First, listen to as much natural speech as you can and pay attention to how intonation and vocal quality change with the speaker's mood. Second, keep the context of the conversation in mind. And the third, learn the recognized nonverbal cues and combine them with the words that the speaker used to understand exactly how the speaker feels. Thank you, that's all from us. Might be enough. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.